Howdy, my name is Ben and we're a bookish bear, and here's what we're doing today. So today I want to talk about Animal Crossing, I want to talk about my villagers, I want to talk about me speculating about what their favorite books would be. This is something I've thought quite a bit about, too much about, probably, and I feel like I should put it to good use and put it in a video, and maybe people will enjoy it. For Animal Crossing New Horizon, I know I'm at the tail end of this. I should have made this video back when it first came out and everyone would have, watched and loved it, and I would be internet famous by now. But that didn't happen. So instead, I'm doing it now. And here's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to talk about my villagers, the villagers that live on my island, which I have spent way too much time on, which I know we all did when it first came out and the pandemic hit, and we were all just trying to get by and surviving simply by interacting with these virtual animals on our little islands where everything was fine and nothing was wrong, ever, except for when you got stung by a wasp. So this video, I'm going to try to do all audio and without my face, so you guys can, I'm just going to put stuff on the screen about the villagers and stuff. So here we go. What are my Animal Crossing villagers' favorite books? So the first villager I want to talk about, and probably my favorite villager, is Tank. He's a rhino, and he is a jock personality. But the inside of his house, which looks like this, leads me to believe that there are depths to Tank that we don't get to see, because he's got this very zen, like, outdoorsy vibe to it. He literally, I don't think he's ever talked to me about anything besides the normal jock stuff of, like, the muscles and working out and patrolling the island. So I'm not really sure what his other interests are. Maybe he's talked about food before, but anyway, I think based on the decor of his home, he has hidden depths, and that leads me to believe that his favorite book would be Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance by Robert M. Pirsig, which is a book that kind of says, I have hidden depths, but I'm also pretty basic, which I think is a good description of Tank, as much as I love him. Next is Molly. She is a little duck. She showed up on my island unprovoked. She was a mistake. I think I was kicking someone out and then time traveled too much without realizing what it was doing, and it auto put in a villager like it does. And it was Molly, and at first I was like, we got to get rid of Molly. But first of all, she's very adorable. And second of all, I have a really good friend in real life named Molly. She seems to be very into, like, music and playing instruments, I guess. I think she plays a harp, maybe, or a violin. And she is also into reading. Like, she asks about books a lot, and she asked me about what kind of books I like, which I liked, so I kept her. And she's been on my island for a while. And so I do think that Molly is a reader. She's someone who reads a lot, which is not something I could say for most of my villagers. And I think that Molly's favorite book is probably something like Persuasion by Jane Austen or Little Women. Something very classic. I think that she reads lots of different stuff, and I think that she is well read, and she's going to be on, like, BookTube watching videos about books and stuff, but her go-tos are going to be the classics. Next up is Teddy, and I'm just going to say this now. You're going to see a theme on my island. There are lots of bears living on my island. Teddy is the first I'm going to talk about, and he is generally, I think, the sweetest bear on my island and just of all the bears in Animal Crossing. He always has a very cheerful demeanor. He is a jock, and he does always talk about the, like, sort of jockish things that all the jocks talk about. Exercising and patrolling the island. That's all they want to do. But Teddy has, I think, a sort of quiet sweetness. I don't think that Teddy reads a lot. It's probably been a while since he read a book, and I think that his favorite book is probably going to be like the memoir from some sports person, like Muhammad Ali or Michael Jordan or something. I don't know enough about sports to like choose one that would best fit him, nor do I want to look through sport player memoirs online to find one. So I'm just going to say generally his favorite book, if you ask him, is going to be some sports player's memoir. The next villager that I'm going to talk about is Walker, and there's a lot to say about Walker. He was a villager that showed up on my island. Either he was one of my original 3, or he was one of the next set that they just sort of autofill into your village when you start. So he's a lazy, and he's just very stupid. He's very stupid. At first I hated him, and I was going to get rid of him, and I kept talking to him, and every time he just said the dumbest stuff, and eventually I fell in love with his just stupid idiot face. He is pretty cute, and it's always nice to have a little dog villager on your island, and Walker just sort of won me over. He's so dumb, and I know I keep saying that, but it's very true. He also like sort of presents as like a child, like his house is done up like a kid's room, and he says lots of things that sound like a kid. So I don't know what the ages are of these animals, or if he's a child or an adult who's just very dumb. Either way, he's also obsessed with bugs. Like, he talks about bugs a lot. The only thing he talks about is snacks and bugs. He's always telling me about the bugs he talks to in his house, and for that reason, I know for a fact that Walker's favorite book is James and the Giant Peach by Roald Dahl. It's undisputable. You cannot convince me that he would even consider any other book for his favorite book. He would just absolutely love reading about being inside a giant peach with a bunch of talking bugs. Like, that's his dream come true. So that's Walker is the only one that I'm 100% totally sure about in this entire video. Next, let's just get to the next bear on the list. This is Kurt. So Kurt is, I don't know, whatever the normal one is. I think they're just called normal personality. And he is very kind of boring. I don't know why I have Kurt on my island. Maybe he's a jock. He does have the MVP shirt. So maybe he's jock as well. I'm not sure why I've kept Kurt on my island for as long as I have. His house is like a disaster. Like, it looks like it's just garbage. Like, it seems like the only thing he likes is like the jock stuff, because I do think that he's a jock now that I think about it, and garbage, because his house is full of garbage. So I think I've just convinced myself to get rid of Kurt and find a new villager, but he's kind of cute. I do think that Kurt is very basic and he doesn't read. I don't think he's read a book in years. He's one of those people who just hasn't read a book since he's like been in high school and is okay with that. But I think if you asked Kurt what his favorite book was, he would just say the last book he read, which would be The Lost City of Z by David Grann, which is a book I've read and loved, but it's also sort of like a very basic dude bro book. And that's what Kurt is. Okay, next let's talk about Roswell. Roswell is one of my newest villagers. Obviously he was new from the most recent update. And Roswell is this little alligator crocodile. I don't know what the differences are, but I believe he's a crocodile. And he's brown with the spots, and he's cute. But Roswell is named after Roswell, New Mexico, and is into like space stuff. He's into like aliens and stuff, which I am also into and love him for, and that's the reason why he's on my island. Roswell, without a doubt, his favorite book is Fire in the Sky by Travis Walton, which is, if you haven't seen the movie, watch the movie, but also read the book, and like any other UFO alien book. But those are the kind of books that Roswell reads. Conspiracy theory, alien abduction, UFO, that whole thing, that is what Roswell is reading. Okay, last bear. Let's do it. It's Grizzly. So Grizzly, I absolutely adore. He's just this grumpy old man, which is basically me, and he chills out. His house is like all campfire-y, like you're camping under the stars, and his whole vibe is like very outdoorsy, old guy, Nick Offerman vibes. And I think that his favorite book is The River of Consciousness by Oliver Sacks. And this is a book that I haven't read yet, It's a book I would like to read. I think that Grizzly also reads a lot of Wendell Berry, but I think that Grizzly is a reader, but he's not the type of person who's going on all the time about what they're reading. He doesn't engage with the reading and bookish culture. He just reads a lot. And like when you go to his house, you see like books everywhere and shelves of books, and you're like, wait, holy shit, you read? And he's like, oh yeah, sometimes, occasionally. Like, he's one of those kind of readers. But yes, his favorite book, I think it's gonna be either Wendell Berry, a lot of nature writing type stuff, or The River of Consciousness by Oliver Sacks, which gives me like nature writing vibes, but with like some philosophy, maybe. The next is E12. That's how the internet told me how to pronounce that. E12. She's a little sheep. She was introduced into the game with the Hello Kitty stuff, and she's very cute. I don't talk to her a lot. I just like the sheep. I think they're cute, and I wanted to add another female villager to my island because it was getting like very full of jocks and just too much testosterone. So I wanted to add another female villager, and she was cute and new, so I added her. I don't know what her vibe is though. Like, she seems very sort of like cheery and happy. I'm not even sure what her personality is, like which one category she falls into, if I'm being honest, which is sad. Maybe I'll get to know her a little better. But like I said, I don't know her vibe. I'm not really sure what, or if she's a reader. Part of me thinks that she's maybe like a really like on top of things kind of reader who knows about all the new books that are coming out and reads a lot of literary fiction. And her favorite book is like No One's Talking About This by Patricia Lockwood, and she's like very in the know and hip and like whatever. But I don't think that that's true. I don't think that's true. I think she's more of like a very basic, she's just picking up whatever book she sees on TikTok and is popular on TikTok, and she's reading it, like Red, White, and Blue or whatever. Just like very like happy ending romances and meet cutes and maybe some Sally Rooney, like just very that whole vibe, I think, is the kind of reader that she is. Next is Pietro. Pietro is a complete psychopath. He is a sociopath probably as well, and he does not know how to read. And that's the T. And finally, we've got Cephalobot. Cephalobot was also introduced in the newest update, and he's this cute little robot octopus. And as soon as I saw that there was a robot octopus, I was like, he needs to live on my island immediately. So he does. And I think that Cephalobot is, I also haven't spoken to him a lot, so I don't know what his whole deal is. I'm assuming he's into like robots and other robot. But I think that he reads a lot of science fiction, and I think he reads a lot of comic book. That's my assumption, is that Olsuffy, he is into comics. His favorite is probably either Descender by Jeff Lemire or Saga by Brian K. Vaughan. Like, he's very into like the whole space sci-fi thing with comics, and that's his whole deal. So I think that that's what he's reading.